Hi everyone, it's Margaret Manning here and welcome to 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. And my guest today is Nancy Queen. Nancy is the owner of NobleKnits.com. It's an online yarn shop and knitting community. And, so many people in our community love to knit. So I wanted to talk to Nancy about some ways to get started. Hi, Nancy. Welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Margaret.
It is so cool to have you here, Nancy. Now, honestly, I want to ask you the first question, which is about basically how to get started, but this is like my question for you. I am a total beginner, but I love knitting. And I think a lot of women fall into that category. So I'd love to ask you to share with us, just some tips for beginning knitters.
Well, first of all, I want to say that most of the knitters that we see are beginner knitters or advanced beginner knitters. And most of the knitters that we have in our community are just looking for a way to relax and unwind and enjoy the process of knitting, not conquer everything there is to learn. So it's a hobby, and remember that it's fun, and that's what it's meant to be.
So that's that's a good first tip. So I love your scarf, by the way. I'm sure you've got some I love your background as well. You've got all these wonderful colors of yarn. And to be honest with you, I'll show you something. This is my thing with knitting. It's the color. Do you notice a theme going on here?
Yes.
And this is
beautiful.
My little favorite one, which I wear around my neck. I'm like, everything's pink, and even my little gloves are pink. But that's why I like knitting. I like the texture and the color. So maybe that's other people are in that category.
Well, there's something to be said for tactile fiber arts, and it really it's a way to calm yourself and get back to basics. And just like people like cooking, the smells and the aromas, the flavors, the process of chopping. Knitting is the same kind of thing. It's very homey. You can light a fireplace, put on a good book on video, and just relax and find yourself unwinding. So it is what you make it. If you are somebody who wants to keep learning, there are boundless opportunities in knitting. I think there's over 100 ways just to cast the stitches on the needle. But most people use one or two techniques, and there's really two basic stitches to knitting. It's knitting and purling, and everything else is a combination or variation of those two stitches. So once you learn those basics, you can build on it, or you can just enjoy it as is and keep going along.
Yeah. Nancy, have you got with you right now like an example of of straight knitting? Like, I could show you this is just really simple.
That is, I actually did a little swatch. We were doing a how-to video, and it's on our website. This is just the little swatch of garter stitch, which is when you knit every row.
And show me one that would be purl. Do you have one that's a purl?
Well, if you purled every row, it would look exactly like this because it's just the reverse. But hang on.
I see. So if you did one that was like knitting, you'd knit one and then purl one stitch, and then you get something different.
Right. So this one,
beautiful.
I don't know. Can you see that?
Yeah, perfectly. Yes.
So this is a combination of knit stitches and then purl stitches.
I see that. Yeah.
The knit stitch is when you put the stitch in the front, and the purling is when you put the stitch in the back. So when you reverse those, you end up seeing both the front and the back of the stitch. And that's what creates that combination.
That's pretty.
And this cowl that I'm wearing is the same thing. This is just a combination of knit and purl stitches.
I see that.
So everything, like I said, is just a combination or variation of those two stitches.
So I guess another tip would be to start simple with just plain stitching. Just get through just a scarf or a little, like you've done a cowl, which is beautiful, and just start very simply enjoying the experience, not trying to create something magically beautiful.
And you know what? As adults, we tend to think that we shouldn't have a learning curve. And you really need to give yourself permission to have the learning curve and to mess up a little bit, and you learn from, just like anything else, you learn from your mistakes, and it's okay to make a mistake and just have fun with it. We used to do little classes where we'd have teens come in the summer, and then we had adults classes. And the teens would come in, and most of them were preteens, 12, 13-year-old girls. And they would come in, and you would see them frustrated and just focused. And they just muddled through it until they got it. But they kept at it.
Yeah.
Whereas the adults come in and they get really frustrated right away because they think, oh, I didn't get it. I'm a failure. I should know this.
Yes, I should know this.
This is so easy.
Yeah.
Like anything else, you have to remember how much time it took you to learn to tie your shoes and how much time it took you to learn to ride a bike or any other technique. It's just a new technique that you're opening yourself up to, and give yourself time to master it. And once you do, the rewards are immeasurable. It's so enjoyable.
Yeah, I can see. I think
you can tell I'm passionate about it.
Obviously, I can see you're so passionate about it, and I know that I am too. And so many women. Well, of course, you do write for us on 60andMe. You're one of our fantastic bloggers, and
yes,
I'm so excited about that because people really do get into it, like you said. So I would say another tip for beginners is just enjoy the experience rather than the product, and
exactly.
And just, for example, I do a really bad job on the ends. I don't know if I've actually got it, but I just can't, when at the end, when your stitches, when you're taking your stitches off, I just cannot make it go straight. And I always have this little piece at the end that's like, oh, I'll just put a button there or something, but it's just like, you mentioned something really important though, that older women are such perfectionists and we're so hard on ourselves.
Yes.
We think we have to be so perfect at everything that we do.
Giving yourself permission to make a mistake is, I think, the biggest thing.
Yeah. Now, is there like something that you would recommend a beginner to start with? Just an easy something?
Well, most people start with just a scarf or even just a swatch that they turn into even a pot holder. I know it sounds silly, but it's, you're not going to absolutely love your first project, because as you knit, you'll see your stitches improve and progress. And that first project tends to go a little bit like this. And that's okay, because your next project is going to be more consistent. And the next project after that is going to be even more consistent. Yeah. So I always tell people to, even though your goal is to do a project, sometimes it's best to just buy a little ball of yarn and get started, because having that yarn around is a good way to try new stitches or a new knitting technique and refer back to it. And like I said, have a swatch to see yourself progress.
I think another thing to do is color. If you choose a color that you like, it doesn't matter how it ends up. You just have enjoyed the color, and it's something that you treasure.
And try to choose, we really spend a lot of time trying to choose good quality fabrics for our clothes and, the best of things to have in our home. Buy a yarn that you really like, even a nice fiber. So one of the yarns I use a lot is this UU Woolly Worsted. It's a merino superwash, and it's a really fine grade merino wool, but it feels nice. It's springy, it's bouncy, it's forgiving. And you could go to a big box store and buy a box of acrylic yarn, but it doesn't feel as good.
Yes.
It doesn't have the rewarding properties and the luxury that you find. So for a few more dollars, I think it's worth it to buy a yarn that you're going to actually enjoy. And as you progress and you're putting time into projects, why would you want to spend all these hours making something when you use lousy ingredients?
Yes.
I know
exactly.
Buy the best that you can for yourself. This is something you're doing really for yourself. So enjoy that whole thing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because there are two distinct types of wool, aren't there? There's acrylic, which are, what is acrylic? Is it made out of, got some plastic in it or something?
It's a man-made fiber, yes. And there's actually a lot of great qualities about acrylic. They're great for baby items. They're great for, Afghans when kids are taking them to college, when you need
Yeah.
wash and wear.
Mm-hmm.
There are some really great acrylics, and we carry quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And the industry overall has done so many wonders with fibers and the ability. It used to be there was wool, or more wool, and now there's
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
luxury. There's
They're
cashmere, angora, alpaca, hemp yarn, cotton yarn, merino wools. You can even find out what kind of sheep that came from. And I mean that it's gotten very down to nitty gritty. And then there's also really interesting novelty fibers. This one
Oh yes, I
is
like that.
actually hand spun in India, and the yarns have been tied with little ribbons and baubles and just beautiful bits.
I love it.
You just can't get enough of. And this is a luxury fiber, and that's for a reason, because you're only going to need one ball, and people are going to be wowed every time you wear it.
Yes.
So think of those things when you're moving along. I wouldn't say for your first project, but as you progress, buy something that speaks to you.
Yes, and that's a reflection of your personality.
Yeah.
It's so funny you showed that one, because I was on your website and I was looking at the different wools, and that one immediately struck me. Does it have sari material or fabric from Jaipur? There's something I read.
Yes.
And which is one of my favorite cities in India. But I saw that and I thought that's what I'm going to use next, because it's so unique. And I think that's one thing you can either, in fact, it reminds me a little bit of this one I did. Can you see? Oh, this one here.
Yes, that's beautiful.
It's just bubbly. And when I wear it, I just feel good.
That's the whole point.
And that's the whole point of it. So it just feels great. So I'm going to put my scarf on with you there. So I've got a scarf.
And as women, there's so many things that we do for everyone else.
Yes.
Use knitting as something that you do for yourself. It really, it's something that you need, and you find yourself relaxing as you progress once you get past that learning curve.
This has been so helpful, honestly. I do feel inspired, and that's what you're all about. I go to your website and I've seen that you clearly love this. You love what you're doing.
I do. I absolutely do. And I like sharing with people like you, because it just inspires me to do more of this.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, look, for the women that are watching this, if you want to get started with knitting, go up to nobleknits.com and check out the wool there. And I personally encourage you to just get started. As Nancy's saying, just a square or a little scarf, and just enjoy it. Thank you so much for being here, Nancy. It's such a thrill to meet you.
Have a great day.
You too. Take care. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our 60andMe YouTube channel and also visit our website. We are a strong and dynamic community of women over 60. We're challenging aging stereotypes, and every day we share fascinating stories, interesting questions, and great conversation.